minutes. I'm back to work on the cabin. Got a load of rough cut 1x6s here from the local sawmill that I'm going to use for siding. And there's been a skunk on my cameras by the cabin the last few nights, so I like my wildlife, but I'm hoping we don't run into that guy. It's an absolutely perfect morning here in late August. Gonna take a minute or two to enjoy it. I'd really much rather be out on the lake fishing today, but I guess there'll be time for that after the cabin's built. So the first thing I have to do is get my lumber hauled in here. If you've seen my earlier videos, you know that I prefer to haul it in by boat, but the lake's not cooperating for that right now, so plan B is to use my time machine here. This takes a while and it's just less fun, slower going, less reliable, and frankly more dangerous than using the boat. I've got about 5 or 6 trips to make, and they take almost an hour each by the time I load and unload and go both directions. So it'll be a big chunk of my day. And then on the last trip this happened. There's a steep hill here. I don't know if you can really tell the camera how steep it is, but there's a ridge that drops about 10 or 12 feet or so. And my back strap came loose and my lumber slid forward and did like a pole vault thing. And the front wheels of the ATV here are actually well over a foot off the ground, with the lumber embedded in the ground holding the whole works up. And I'll figure out how to hit the undo button on this mess without running over myself. So the only help I have is Cedar the dog, so it's kind of a mess. Here's what it looks like from up above. This is going to be a tricky one to get out of, because the boards are the only thing stopping the ATV from rolling down the hill. And I did figure out what happened here is one of my screws sheared off. So this was loose. I actually heard it pop back a little bit and stopped and checked things out, but not moving it with a load on it, everything seemed stable, so just taking it slow, hoping it'd be okay. So what I decided to do is run a couple of ratchet straps from a big tree at the top of the hill down to the hitch on the ATV, and I was able to ratchet it back a foot or two, and that got the wheels down to the ground and took the weight off from the lumber. So with that I can unload these and should be able to get going again. So I was fortunate actually. I was going down a steep enough hill so that even though they slid forward, the lumber didn't land on my head. It went right over the top of me and into the ground in front of me. So I got them all unloaded, blocked all 4 wheels with good sized rocks, and I'm hoping that when I take the ratchet strap off, the rocks will hold the ATV, keep it from rolling downhill, but if not, I'll just pick it up at the bottom and go from there. So don't do this at home, kids. It took almost the whole day to get my lumber in and get that ATV mess cleaned up, but we'll get to the construction stuff, so here's my disclaimer. And the first thing I did was use a piece of string pulled tight with a bungee cord to make sure that my studs are all in alignment while I can still get to them. And I did find one that I hadn't been able to tell before, but it was bowed in an inch or so, so I cut that one out and replaced it. Way easier to do it now than after I've got house wrap and siding and stuff on it. I got my house wrap up, and I'm just using rough cut 1x6s for siding and sheathing in one layer. They're a full inch thick, so I think that should work. did some strips around the windows and the corners, and then a starter strip down on the bottom. And I'm overlapping them about an inch, inch and a quarter. So they should shed water pretty well, I think. So I was going to T111 this. That's that plywood with grooves in it, but it is so ugly. I kind of sometimes wish I would have, because I'd be just about done by now, but I think this is going to look pretty good. Cedar found a big wood boring insect to entertain herself with and entertain me for a while. I've done all of my building here with hand tools and cordless rechargeables, just charged off from my 200-watt solar system, except that I need a generator to run my table saw. And this little inexpensive generator will just barely run the table saw. It actually overloads every so often. I have to restart it, but it's getting the job done, so I'm glad I have it. I've got a couple days of wet weather coming. This afternoon's pretty nice, just overcast, kind of the proverbial calm before the storm. Supposed to be a pretty good thunderstorm coming through tonight, and then just a full day of rain after that. But I'll probably just have to work through it. I don't have much else to do. I gotta work outside, so just get used to the idea of getting wet, I guess, and enjoy the part before it comes. And as promised, I got that thunderstorm last night, and this is what today is going to be like, probably all day. So it's not super pleasant, but just have to keep moving ahead. I managed to get a fair amount of siding done in this, and at least I've got a roof over my head, so I can do my cutting inside now. I really wanted to get this entire side done for morale reasons, but I'm working alone right now, and the pieces up high were really difficult. These are 10-foot pieces, and they're fairly heavy because they're freshly cut, so they're not real dry. So I eventually decided to just work on the low stuff and save the rest of the high stuff for when I have some help. And at the end of the day, I'm as wet can be, and don't have a cabin and can't light a fire in the stove in the bunkhouse because there's just too much stuff crammed in there. But I realized with a little rearrangement of my temporary kitchen, I could light up the sauna and dry myself out good that way. So it's going to be a pretty nice evening for me after all. So I have to leave for a couple of days. Other commitments are calling, but I think this always happens. The day I have to leave is absolutely perfect out. Clear skies, it's about 70 degrees with a nice breeze off the lake that would keep me cool and keep the bugs away. Be a great day to get a bunch of work done, but it'll have to wait a couple days. But at least I've made pretty good progress. Let me show you here what I'm planning with my corners, where I just used the same 1x6 I'm using for siding and ripped some strips down, did one layer, and then I'll do a second layer at the end to make it look better. And same thing around my windows. After I put them in, cover up the nailing flanges with the second strip. And here's what things are looking like on the inside. So my wood stove will go over in the corner where this chair is, so I'll be able to see the wood stove and the lake all at the same time this winter. So I messed this up. On the drive out, I saw a couple of black bears on the road, and I could see them from a ways away. I should have stopped and gotten out with my camera, but I tried to film them while driving from the truck, and they didn't stick around for that. I thought maybe I'd be able to see them in the woods, but no go. So mistake on my part. still a good way to leave you with the view from the drive out. Be back soon for more siding and hopefully start putting some windows in. Looking forward to getting the cabin enclosed. Thanks for watching.